Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to contain my first ever solo clear of Lilith on the Legend difficulty. This new quest just released yesterday. It's our first ever Legend difficulty quest in the Rise of the Sinister Dominion series, and I had a lot of fun checking this out, so I wanted to share my first solo clear. I decided it was about time. I needed to get one of these first clears with a Sarisse or Sarisse alt, so I'm using Sharpshooter Sarisse for my clear today, along with Tiki for her co-ability there, Gala Mascula, also good with the standard attack damage, and then finally Sandalphon, mostly for the overdamage because it just feels wrong to use a close range style mana caster without overdamage. It just feels like the right thing to do. Look at that combo count, so satisfying. Anyway, as it turned out, this wasn't the highest power team. I had to bring some Dispel in the shared skills just to sort of compensate for what I was missing, but this was still a really fun clear to take on, and I actually really enjoyed this content. Lilith has some new moves up her sleeve, like this caramelized sweets move that she does where you have to take out these sweets in the pattern of the purple attack that you saw before. So she attacks with 3 different kinds of purple shapes. You have to remember the order and then take out the sweet she spawns afterwards in the right order. Another new move that she has, she's about to do here, Sugary Surge. There's lots of different arrows on the map. Generally what you want to do is get in the arrow that's in the middle of 3 that are pointing the same way. I believe there's 4 different patterns. You can also kind of memorize the patterns, but from what I've observed, it seems like 3 arrows are always pointing the same way or a similar way, and you want to get into the middle of those. So that's kind of how I've resolved it in my brain. At least that's how I approach it, but maybe there's another way to memorize what to do. Also, Lilith, of course, has a lot of the same returning mechanics. She can apply Corrosion, Curse of Nihility. She has this Candy Bomb here that we're going to have to stack up to tank. And one thing that's a little different, as Crossing Candy happens on screen now, that's more like her raid variant, is instead of strength buffs, she gives herself defense buffs, and she is quite tanky to take down. And if you're not dispelling those defense buffs in particular, if you're using kind of a mid-power team or weaker team like this one, and I have Gala Dragons here, I mean, it's definitely not as weak as could be, but if you're using such a team and not dispelling, there's a very real possibility of running out of time, I think. So certainly can optimize, and I'm sure there are some fast clears out there. I feel like it's going to be satisfying to play through this with a faster team after moving on from this one, but that is one of the concerns. Her HP feels like it's on the high side considering the fact that you have to deal with Curse of Nihility. It's funny, I think she has like 25 million HP. Technically, the Roy that released, the Water Element Roy, had, 65 million, which is way more in only 3 minutes instead of the full amount of time we have for this fight. But it just still feels very different because, of course, Roy stays in one place, so you can optimize against him, but also the fact that you can use real buffs. You don't have Curse of Nihility content in Roy and that Mercurial Gauntlet content just yet. Maybe on the harder difficulties they're going to put that in, who knows. Anyway, we proceed with Lilith. She's doing some of her more basic attacks here. There's a little bit of a healing check. Sandalphon, fortunately able to take things down for me just fine and protect me, keep me safe here. But Nurse Eileen, certainly another good alternative for this. Some of the better damage dealers I've seen are, of course, Summer Ieyasu, Lapis. I think you could also use Lazri or Feeny just fine. They should be pretty effective for you. So there are some pretty good options in the water element at this point. Regina's probably a fine one as well. But I decided to stick with this team here until I could get the first clear and went into this without a lot of information. So the first time I went into this, I thought this was going to be kind of like the Agito Legend difficulty. One of the changes that I was a little disappointed to see is we don't have the remix soundtrack for the Sinister Dominion like we had with the Agito. That was super fun about the Legend difficulty. Another thing is, it's the same arena again. I know the Agito was the same arena as well. But another thing is, the Agito, you got all these different, you got the forms, you got the transformation. This doesn't start with the Fallen Angel fight, which is something I was kind of expecting might happen, but that's not the case, so yeah, that's one change. And then of course the big one is there's no Berserk phase. So I didn't know that going into things, but yeah, that doesn't happen in phase 2. And what that meant for me was it felt like phase 1 was really slow, and then once I got to phase 2, when I swapped team elements, it really just felt like that was where it was downhill, but I wanted to be very careful and precious with my play not to make a mistake. So this first half, I think switching water to the front instead of using light like on the master difficulty gave it a really different feel. It felt a lot slower than when you're using light team against Master Lilith. And part of that's just the higher HP as well. As you see here, I almost made just a really fatal mistake with bad timing on my rolls, but kind of got bailed out by the element swap at the perfect moment. I decided to play Halloween Laxi for the second half. It felt like a good, safe choice to use. High mobility, force striking from afar. I'm able to place these candy showers at safe locations and can just continuously run and outpace them. So it felt like a good choice for me, and I was really locked in here on just, I don't want to make a dumb mistake and have to start over and accidentally use a skill or dragon or something at the wrong time. So I was trying to play very conservatively here. Definitely not optimized, but I really just didn't want to have to start this over. As you see, some of the mechanics continue on from the first phase, like Sugary Surge, but there are also going to be some new ones that we didn't experience with the water element teams. So we'll talk about those when we get to them. One of them's here right now, Sticky Spinners. You see that Lilith throws out these 3 spinning circles of doom, and then they become the safe zones for this huge purple attack she does, and the safe zones in the order that she threw out those 3 circles. So you have to follow the order. Here's her purple shapes again, and that was really bad on my part, not anticipating this would happen right after that spinner attack. But luckily did memorize the pattern, and I was terrified here because break happened in the middle. I didn't know if I might automatically fail the sweets that she would summon, the caramelized sweets, because of the timing. Fortunately, you do not automatically fail, but you do need to remember the order through the break phase and until she summons them. I was concentrating really hard on just trying to remember the order, was not about to use my dragon, was not worried about that whatsoever, in case I needed it, because I still thought Berserk might happen, or maybe like a phase transformation at the very end, although clearly her HP is pretty low at this point. So the rest of the fight, I think the mechanics are fairly similar to what we've seen so far. So I also want to spend a little bit of time just talking about the rewards and kind of the philosophy around these legend battles. They really are more a test of your progression than a means of your progression. They're about the satisfaction of clearing this really hard content that takes a lot of setup and takes a lot of time put in just farming up the materials and everything to get yourself to a point to be able to do. I know it may seem easy or may seem trivial if you're really hardcore with the game, you play it a lot, you're more of a grinder, farming things out, but not everybody does that, and so there's certainly no shame if this is something that is more of a struggle for you as well, because it's intended to be optional content for those who want it. There are rewards, there's a new treasure trade with rewards, but it's nothing that's like essential or fundamentally going to upgrade your roster. It's things that are certainly nice. There's some Sunlight Ores in there, some Twinkling Sand, 5 Champions Testaments, I love seeing that, a lot of augments, but other than that, it's not stuff that you really have to have. And so that's something I kind of appreciate about these fights in juxtaposition to the expert difficulty, that it's really more of a farm fest. There's much more to grind. That's one of the reasons a lot of players resort to auto battle strategies for that. This is kind of more once a week and done. You know, you'll probably be on good pace if you clear it once or a couple times a week to eventually clear out most of the good stuff from those treasure trades. Since as of now, it doesn't look like they're going to repeat, and when they get expanded in the future, maybe with the next Legend Sinister Dominion release, it's going to require the materials from that boss. Maybe they'll throw in some extra trades for Lilith materials as well at that time, and that'll be kind of a refresh opportunity. But for now, it doesn't look like it's monthly or weekly or anything, and I love the fact that there's not that time pressure of getting it done. So overall, I'm really happy with the rewards. The one thing I didn't point out is There are also some devotion and conviction items in there from Trials of the Mighty, but it's really only one chest worth for the adventurers who are present. So it's not a lot of unbinds you can get on those adventurers' mana spirals, but it's something. And I want to remind the audience that back in the day, to do high dragons, those were time gated. You had to wait for Twinkling Sands to craft core weapons to even enter those fights because you needed to have higher stats. So the Conviction, Devotion, Trials of the Mighty system, as lamented as it is, it's nothing new. There's always been time-gated content like this in Dragalia, but I think this one people really don't like, unfortunately. I also just want to say, a lot of those adventurers, the Gala ones in particular, yes, they get good upgrades, but they're still really good even before you get their spirals. So I hope that you can be patient, and hopefully those free convictions and devotions from that treasure trade will help a little bit with that farm, alleviate some of that. But that is going to do it for today, everyone. Thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.